But I know for sure, that Rock Nation was seeding negative stories about Colin Kaepernick during the time that he was really in traction with Jay-Z, for sure. This is after the Rock Nation NFL deal has been announced.
Also, what he did to Colin was absolutely wrong.
Selfish.
Jay-Z's performance at Yankee Stadium may have ended up revealing much more than he expected. Instead of simply celebrating the music, a lot of people walked away feeling like his words hinted at growing pressure and frustration. What was supposed to be a big moment quickly turned into something fans and critics couldn't stop talking about. During his freestyle, Jay-Z responded to people on social media who have called him a sellout, pushing back against those claims in a very direct way. He also suggested that some of the criticism should be aimed at Colin Kaepernick instead. That part immediately caught attention because Colin's wife, Nessa Diab, has never been afraid to speak her mind on issues like this. Many viewers felt Jay-Z's comments didn't land the way he may have expected, with plenty of people saying he misjudged the public reaction. Instead of quieting the conversation, his performance sparked even more debate and gave everyone something new to discuss. A lot of people weren't convinced by what they heard, and the reaction online picked up fast. Nessa Diab was among those who openly pushed back, making it clear she didn't agree with Jay-Z's comments. Her response quickly became part of the bigger conversation, with fans on both sides sharing their opinions and debating what had really been said. Jay-Z has recently found himself back in the spotlight as people celebrate the 30th anniversary of his debut album, Reasonable Doubt. After spending years staying relatively quiet and avoiding public back and forth, he returned to the stage as the headliner for the Roots picnic. During the performance, he suggested he wasn't interested in getting pulled into rap rivalries. Even so, many listeners felt his lyrics included pointed remarks that people connected to several well-known artists. Fans especially focused on lines they believed referenced Drake and Nicki Minaj, leading to even more discussion across social media and keeping the performance in the headlines long after it ended. During the freestyle, Jay-Z delivered a series of sharp lines that had the crowd trying to figure out exactly who he was talking about. One part appeared to reference a public critic, while another suggested that some people were acting out of personal feelings instead of facts. He also joked that a fellow rapper wasn't someone he considered a real rival, adding more mystery to the performance. Because several lyrics were open to interpretation, fans immediately started connecting them to different public figures and debating their meaning across social media. Jay-Z also appeared to reference attorney Tony Busby, who had previously been involved in a highly publicized legal dispute connected to him. In the performance, Jay repeated lyrics expressing frustration about the situation and made it clear that he still felt strongly about everything that had happened. The line suggested that, from his perspective, the experience had left a lasting impression and remained something he hadn't completely moved past.
Nah, Jay-Z, that freestyle wasn't it, bro. That wasn't the one, bro. Stop, just stop it. Now the Roots picnic freestyle was better than this. But this one, I'm starting to see what you're doing. You starting to notice that, because you brought up Twitter activists. You starting to notice that people ain't receiving you like they once receiving you, and you can't pay radio program and certain shit to manipulate the masses.
Many people pointed out that Jay-Z has rarely spoken publicly about that legal matter, which made these lyrics stand out even more. Because of that, fans and commentators quickly began discussing why he chose to bring it up during such a major performance. Some believed it was his way of responding after staying mostly silent for so long, while others felt it showed the situation still weighed heavily on him. Either way, those verses became one of the biggest talking points from the entire show and kept the conversation going long after the performance ended. When the earlier performance wrapped up, plenty of viewers were still trying to figure out exactly what message Jay-Z was trying to send. The conversation only grew louder when he appeared at Yankee Stadium during the 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt. Fans knew it would be a major event, but they didn't expect several of his freestyle lines to become one of the biggest topics of the night. Right in the middle of the show, Jay-Z used part of his freestyle to respond to criticism that had been circulating online for quite some time. Some critics have accused him of putting personal business interests ahead of the community, and he chose to address those claims directly through his lyrics. He also said he doesn't pay attention to what he described as Twitter activists and presented himself as someone who can't be controlled by outside opinions or online pressure. Those comments immediately sparked fresh conversations, with supporters and critics offering very different interpretations of what he meant. Jay-Z also turned his attention to the wider conversation happening online, questioning why some major business partnerships receive heavy criticism while other major companies and platforms continue to be widely used without the same level of attention. Through his lyrics, he suggested that people can be selective about which decisions they criticize, and those comments immediately got fans talking. Some agreed with his point, while others felt the comparison didn't fully address the concerns that had been raised. The most talked about part of the freestyle came when Jay-Z appeared to compare his own situation with Colin Kaepernick's. In his lyrics, he referenced Colin's agreement with the NFL and suggested that people should look at that situation before directing criticism toward him. He also implied that he understood why someone would make a major financial decision, while arguing that his own choices had been misunderstood by the public. Those lines quickly became one of the biggest discussion points from the performance. Jay-Z continued by defending his own record, insisting that he is consistently invested in the community and pointing to the scale of his contributions as evidence. He argued that his actions speak for themselves and suggested that his work has often been overlooked by critics. While some supporters praised him for highlighting those efforts, others felt the comparisons only added more debate instead of settling the issue. As a result, the freestyle became an even bigger topic across social media, with people continuing to analyze every line and what they believed it was meant to say.
For many viewers, this freestyle came across as unexpected because they didn't feel there had been much demand for a public response in the first place. Instead of ending the discussion, some people felt the lyrics showed that Jay-Z was paying close attention to everything being said about him online. That impression quickly became part of the conversation, with fans debating whether the performance was a confident statement or simply a reaction to ongoing criticism. Another reason the freestyle drew so much attention was because it brought Colin Kaepernick's name back into the discussion. Nessa, Diab, Colin's wife, has publicly criticized Jay-Z's comments about Colin in the past, arguing that their views on the situation are very different. Those past disagreements were widely discussed at the time, so hearing another apparent reference during the performance immediately reminded many people of that history. Because of those earlier public exchanges, some viewers felt the latest lyrics reopened a debate that had never fully gone away. Supporters of Jay-Z argued that he was simply sharing his perspective, while others believed the comparison wasn't necessary and only reignited old disagreements. As clips of the freestyle spread across social media, people once again revisited the timeline of events and shared their own opinions about what was said. Rather than bringing the conversation to a close, the performance sparked another wave of discussion and kept the spotlight firmly on the ongoing public debate. Jay-Z's comments about Colin Kaepernick quickly became one of the most debated parts of the entire freestyle. After the performance, many people began comparing his lyrics with publicly available information, and questions started spreading across social media about whether the situation had been described accurately. That led to a fresh round of fact-checking and discussion from fans, reporters, and commentators alike. Public records show that Colin Kaepernick filed a grievance against the NFL, arguing that he had been kept out of the league following his protests. Rather than continuing through a lengthy legal process, both sides reached a confidential settlement. Because many details of that agreement were never made public, it has remained the subject of ongoing discussion and differing interpretations. As a result, people were quick to point out that the situation is more complex than it can be described in just a few song lyrics. Another topic that drew attention was the mention of a non-disparagement clause. Since the exact terms of the settlement have not been fully disclosed publicly, people continue to debate what was or wasn't included in the agreement. Others also noted that Colin has continued speaking publicly about issues involving the NFL over the years, which has been part of the broader conversation surrounding the case. Those details fueled even more online debate, with supporters and critics offering very different takes on Jay-Z's lyrics and what they were intended to communicate.
I'm a target. You aim, don't miss that target. No exclusive, they only doing what Apple or Walmart did. You shopping at Amazon or you boycott. You posting on Instagram, that's Meta, boy, stop it. Y'all know Google owns YouTube. You picking and choosing the politicking as usual.
Many of Colin Kaepernick's supporters point to his continued involvement in community causes as one reason they still stand behind him today. They often highlight charitable efforts and public advocacy, including support for families seeking answers in difficult situations. To those supporters, these actions show that he has remained active beyond the football field and continues to focus on issues that matter to him. At the same time, some critics have questioned Jay-Z's role in major business partnerships and whether those decisions match the public image he presents. They argue that his close relationships with large organizations have led to ongoing debates about his priorities. His supporters, however, counter that he has invested significant time and resources into community projects and business initiatives that create opportunities. Because of these different viewpoints, opinions remain sharply divided. One of the biggest topics in that discussion is Jay-Z's involvement with the NFL's entertainment partnership, including work connected to the Super Bowl halftime show. Some commentators believe that partnership represented positive progress and a chance to influence change from within, while others have questioned the timing and what it symbolized in relation to Colin Kaepernick's earlier protests. Those opposing views continue to fuel debate whenever the subject comes up. Rather than reaching a clear agreement, the conversation remains split, with both supporters and critics pointing to different events to support their perspective. Some critics have also pointed to Jay-Z's past business partnership with Target as part of their broader criticism, arguing that they disagreed with the decision and what they felt it represented at the time. Others viewed it as a business move rather than a statement about larger social issues. Even years later, that partnership is still brought up whenever people debate Jay-Z's public image and the choices he's made throughout his career. As more conversations about his legacy have appeared online, some observers believe Jay-Z has become more willing to respond to criticism instead of simply ignoring it. That has led to even more discussion about how public figures manage their reputations when they face growing scrutiny. Supporters see his recent comments as an effort to explain his perspective, while critics argue that his responses haven't changed their opinions. The divide between those groups has only become more noticeable. Jay-Z also participated in a high-profile GQ interview where he addressed public criticism and spoke about wanting to set the record straight regarding various claims and rumors that had circulated online. He rejected those accusations and expressed disbelief at some of the comparisons being made. Even so, the interview sparked another round of debate, with supporters saying he deserved the chance to share his side, while critics continued to question some of his past decisions. Instead of ending the conversation, the interview became another major topic that people discussed across social media and entertainment outlets.
Along with that check, signing non-disparagement. I'm the one they can't control. Y'all better be glad it's him. Yeah. I'm the one they can't control. You better be glad it's him. $500 million back in the community. That's just good math for him.
The biggest surprise for many people wasn't just what Jay-Z said, but how quickly others pushed back against it. Within hours, fans, commentators, and public figures were comparing old interviews, past headlines, and previous statements to see whether everything lined up. Instead of accepting the lyrics at face value, many people started looking at the bigger picture and asking whether his message matched the record that already existed. Nessa Diab was one of the loudest voices challenging the narrative. She has publicly defended Colin Kaepernick's position for years, so when his name came up again, many expected a response. Supporters of Colin argued that revisiting those events without acknowledging the full context only created more confusion. Others believed Jay-Z was simply expressing his own perspective through music, even if people strongly disagreed with it. What stood out most was how differently the same performance was interpreted. Some listeners saw the freestyle as a confident defense against years of criticism, while others viewed it as a sign that Jay-Z felt compelled to answer conversations that had been building for a long time. That split in opinion became impossible to ignore, especially as more people revisited older moments in his career to better understand why this latest performance sparked such a strong reaction. From there, attention shifted to another chapter that critics say has followed him for years. One issue that critics continue to bring up involves Jay-Z's business decisions over the years and whether those moves match the values he often spoke about in public. They argue that every major partnership invited fresh questions about where he stood, especially when those deals involved large corporations or powerful organizations. Supporters see those same choices very differently, saying they created opportunities and opened doors that might not have existed otherwise. That difference in perspective has followed Jay-Z for years. Whenever he addresses criticism directly, some people appreciate hearing his side, while others feel it doesn't fully answer the concerns they already had. Instead of focusing only on one performance or one interview, many have started looking at his career as a whole, comparing different moments to see whether his message has stayed consistent over time. That's why even older events continue to resurface whenever a new controversy appears. Another reason this discussion has lasted so long is that Jay-Z rarely responds publicly. Because he usually stays quiet, every statement, interview, or freestyle tends to receive extra attention. People carefully analyze his lyrics, compare them with past comments, and debate what he may have intended. At the same time, others believe the public is reading too much into every line, and that not every lyric is meant to be taken as a literal statement. Those competing viewpoints set the stage for the next twist in the story.
As people look back through Jay-Z's career, another pattern became part of the discussion. Critics argued that he often chooses carefully when to respond, staying silent for long stretches before addressing controversy on his own terms. They believe that strategy helps him control the conversation, while supporters say he's simply selective about when he speaks and doesn't feel the need to answer every headline. That difference in interpretation has become a major part of how people view his public image. Some entertainment commentators also pointed out that today's audience reacts very differently than it did years ago. Social media allows old interviews, performances, and public statements to be revisited in minutes, making it easier for people to compare past remarks with current ones. Because of that, every new appearance is examined alongside years of history rather than being judged on its own. Fans on both sides have used those older clips to support completely different conclusions. What makes this situation even more interesting is that the discussion is no longer focused on just one freestyle. For many people, it has become a broader debate about legacy, public perception, and how influential figures respond when their decisions are questioned. Whether someone agrees with Jay-Z's explanations or not, the attention is shifted beyond a single performance and toward the bigger picture surrounding his career, setting up the next development in the story. While opinions remain divided, one thing is clear. Every time Jay-Z decides to respond, people pay close attention to what he says, and just as importantly, what he leaves unsaid. For some fans, his willingness to address criticism shows confidence. For others, it raises even more questions about why certain topics are acknowledged while others are left untouched. That contrast has become part of the ongoing debate surrounding his public image. Another point that keeps resurfacing is the gap between how supporters and critics interpret the exact same events. Supporters often point to Jay-Z's long career, business success, and philanthropic work as evidence that his overall impact should be considered. Critics, however, argue that those accomplishments don't automatically answer concerns about specific decisions or public statements. Because both sides focus on different parts of the story, the conversation rarely reaches a shared conclusion. Even longtime fans have noticed that this chapter feels different from previous moments in his career. Instead of being driven only by headlines or brief reactions, many people are revisiting years of interviews, performances, and public appearances to better understand how his message has evolved over time. That closer look at his history has prompted fresh discussions about several past decisions, leading many to examine another moment that had already sparked strong opinions long before this latest performance. One reason this story has continued to attract attention is that it goes beyond a single performance or a few lyrics. For many observers, it's become a discussion about credibility and consistency. When someone has spent decades in the spotlight, every major decision tends to be viewed as part of a much larger timeline. That's why people continue comparing recent comments with interviews, business moves, and public appearances from years ago.
Some media analysts have also noted that expectations for influential artists have changed over time. Today's audiences don't just focus on music, they also pay attention to leadership, partnerships, and the messages public figures choose to share. Because of that shift, every statement is examined from multiple angles, and even a short freestyle can lead people to revisit years of history. Supporters argued that's the price of being one of the biggest names in entertainment, while critics believe public influence naturally brings greater scrutiny. As more perspectives entered the conversation, it became clear that people weren't only reacting to what Jay-Z said on stage, they were also weighing how those remarks fit into the broader story that has developed throughout his career. Some listeners believed he was defending his legacy, while others felt the performance invited more questions than answers. Those different reactions soon gave way to another development that added an entirely new layer to the discussion. As the discussion continued, another question started coming up again and again. Why respond now? For years, Jay-Z was known for staying quiet during public controversies, rarely offering direct explanations. That's why this series of comments caught so many people off guard. Some observers believed he simply wanted to address growing criticism in his own words, while others felt the timing suggested he was trying to clear up long-running narratives before they became even more deeply rooted. That timing became a major point of debate because public perception can change quickly. A single interview, performance, or freestyle can reshape how people view a story, especially when it comes from someone who has remained mostly silent for years. Supporters argued that everyone deserves the chance to explain their perspective, while critics questioned whether the latest comments fully addressed the concerns that had been raised over time. Those different interpretations kept the focus on the message rather than just the performance itself. At the same time, many fans pointed out that Jay-Z's legacy has always been built on more than music alone. His influence spans business, culture, and philanthropy, meaning every public statement is viewed through a much wider lens. That broader perspective has led people to revisit key moments from different stages of his career, searching for clues about how those decisions connect to the position he finds himself in today, before attention shifted to another unexpected development. Another detail that caught people's attention was how much of the conversation shifted away from the music itself and toward Jay-Z's public image. Instead of breaking down the performance line by line, many commentators focused on what the freestyle might say about how he views the criticism surrounding him. That change in focus surprised some fans, who expected the anniversary celebration to center almost entirely on the legacy of Reasonable Doubt, rather than the ongoing debate about his recent comments.
Others pointed out that this isn't unusual for artists with careers as long as Jay-Z's. The bigger someone's influence becomes, the more every interview, performance, and public appearance is examined for hidden meaning. A single lyric can lead to countless interpretations, with different audiences hearing completely different messages. Some listeners believed he was standing firm behind his decisions, while others felt he was responding to concerns that had been building for years. The same performance ended up creating very different impressions depending on who was watching. Even with those opposing viewpoints, one thing remained consistent. People continued comparing Jay-Z's latest remarks with earlier moments from his career, instead of treating them as an isolated event. That wider perspective encouraged many to revisit past headlines, previous business decisions, and older public statements before another unexpected angle entered the discussion. Many critics believe the biggest difference today is that people are much more willing to openly question public figures than they were in the past. Social media has given audiences a place to revisit old decisions, compare past statements, and share their opinions in real time. Some argue that Jay-Z's business moves have benefited him and his family more than the communities he has often spoken about, while supporters point to his philanthropy, mentorship, and other contributions as evidence that his impact is more complicated than critics suggest. The debate remains deeply divided, with each side pointing to different moments in his career to support his view. Others continue to revisit discussions surrounding projects like the Barclays Center development, saying those events should remain part of the broader conversation about his legacy. At the same time, many fans separate the music from the business decisions, appreciating his influence as an artist, while recognizing that people can hold different opinions about his public choices.
That's ultimately why his legacy continues to spark such strong reactions from both supporters and critics alike. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think Jay-Z can reshape how the public sees him, or do you believe his legacy is already set? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who wants to join the conversation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.